What's good? What's good? What's good, fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to another fantastic week of the Voice of the Fans podcast. It's week 145, July the 1st. We got a special guest in the house today, Mr. Landon Buford from somewhere down there in Texas. How you doing, Landon?
I'm good. I'm in Dallas, man. I'm in Dallas.
That's where you at? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we ain't gonna talk too much Cowboys today, so man, don't be offended. Um,
Well, I'm not a Cowboys fan, so I
well,
mean
yeah, right.
that's
Yeah,
that's
right.
that's fine.
Well, first off, let's right off the bat. Is Dak healthy? How's Dak doing? Is Dak healthy? Is Dak gonna start the season okay?
I mean, that's what people are saying. I have a friend that visits the gym that he works out at during the off season, and from what he's told me, he looks pretty good.
Okay, all right. So that's probably about to be as much of the Cowboy talk we get into in this show. But
I mean,
again,
cool. I'm a Seahawks fan, so I don't care about the
well,
Cowboys.
we're gonna kill those guys too. Well, again, thank you guys for joining the Voice of the Fans podcast. Today, we're gonna talk about the NBA Conference Finals. We got one team that's already stamped their ticket to the NBA Finals, first year in a lot of years. We're gonna talk about the NBA coaching carousel. Some coaches moving around, changing seats, and we're gonna get into this day in history. And then, as always, we're gonna give you guys some knowledge about about the history, kind of a history lesson when we go to this day in history about what's kind of going on in this country over a period of years. So, and then we're gonna drop some knowledge on you about the NBA, about the NFL. Want to give a shout out to my guys at HNB Media TV. They're doing their things over there. However you're listening to this show, however you're watching this show, if you're watching on Voice of the Fans on YouTube, Voice of the Fans YouTube page. We appreciate it. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment. Let us know what you think of the show. If you're watching us on HNB Media TV, do the same. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the show, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. But if you're not on either one of those YouTube page, go ahead and subscribe to either one of them. If you're watching this on HNB Media TV, subscribe to Voice of the Fans on YouTube. If you're watching this on Voice of the Fans on YouTube, subscribe to HNB Media. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, however you're listening to us, however you're watching the show. Also, if you're listening to the show on Spotify, tuned in, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, any of those platforms, podcast platforms, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. But please subscribe to both of those YouTube pages. We appreciate it. HNB Media TV on YouTube or Voice of the Fans on YouTube. All your participation and your assistance is greatly appreciated. And like I said, leave a comment, man. We can't get better if we don't know what we need to get better at. So your feedback is greatly appreciated and welcomed. We thank you guys for that. So again, today we got Mr. Landon Buford. Landon's special guest. Give them your social media handle. How can they find you and you see your work?
They can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Landon Buford, just like on
Landon.
the screen. And then they can find all my writing currently right now on landonbuford.com.
That's it, man. I know you got been writing for like 4 or 5 different publications at one time, man. That's it. That's the only one, LandonBuford.com. That's it.
That's the only one that's active right now. Everything else is I'm not currently at any other publication right now. So Landon Buford
Okay. Okay.
is all the work that you want to see currently of me right now.
All right. Well, check them out. Check them out, fans. And Landon, thank you guys for tuning in. And we're gonna get right into the show, big guy. Each and every week we start the show with it being July 1, 2021, week 145. We start with a numbers game, Landon. When you think of the number one, who wore that number best, or who comes to your mind first when you think of the number one?
Derrick Rose and
Derrick
Warren
Rose.
Moon.
Derrick Rose is a good one. Okay. I got Warren Moon's my first one. Oscar Robinson the next one, but Derrick Rose is a good one. And when you think of the number 45, who wore that number best, or who comes to your mind first?
AC Green, I think.
AC Green, he wore 45.
I
Yeah,
think he wore 45, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. He wasn't the best one to do it though.
No, but you said
Who
you
come
who'd
who
come
come
in
to your
mind when
mind
I
first?
when I
Yeah,
hear
yeah, yeah. I guess you didn't see Kenny Easley play, did you?
No, but I have interviewed Kenny Easley, so I forgot that he wore the number 25.
Yeah,
So I should be ashamed of myself.
he wore the number 45. Yeah, if you call yourself a Seagull fan, you should definitely be ashamed.
That's what I said. I admitted on your this feed right now that I should be ashamed that, and I've interviewed the man. So that's
Okay,
my bad. I apologize. The original
okay,
enforcer.
okay. Man, these playoffs, NBA is on fire, man. Told Cleveland a couple weeks ago they could have kept that saying from it had to be late 80s, early 90s. The NBA is fantastic, man, because this playoffs has been fire, regardless of the injuries, regardless of the players that are not playing. I think the NBA has been absolutely fantastic. And my first question to you is, do you think the NBA has been marred, the playoffs has been marred by injuries, or is that an overblown situation? What do you think?
I mean, obviously the injuries have played a part in who's been able to advance, who's obviously getting an opportunity. The Suns are appearing in the finals for the first time since 1993. It's been about 10 years since they actually been in the playoffs. This is the first time in history. I think ESPN said this yesterday that a team has missed the playoffs for 10 years and then they're playing for NBA championships. So congratulations for the Suns. But as far as injuries, you can go down the list. You got Anthony Davis was injured. Giannis is injured right now. Trae Young. Um, who else was injured? Um, Kawhi Leonard's injured right now. Um, who else?
Yeah, as it goes,
Jonathan Mitchell.
as it goes.
It changed the landscape of how things were going to things turned out. In my opinion.
So as it stands now, currently, 15 players make the All NBA team. 15 players, right?
Mhm.
Um, teams one, two, and three. 14 of those 15 players have missed some time in the playoffs. So that's crazy. I agree that's crazy. Um, However, injuries is part of the game, man. Trae Young stepping on the official's ankle, like that has nothing to do with the shortened season or the shortened off season. That has nothing to do. That's fluke injury, right? Giannis with his hyperextended knee. I mean, that has nothing to do with the games played, the games missed. That's a fluke injury. And it's kind of crazy the way that particular injury happened. That doesn't happen more often. Like players going up for the rebound or going up to block a shot, and they just come down wrong. It just happens that way, right? I don't think I don't personally think it has anything to do with the shortened off season, like some players
No,
have mentioned.
that's
I just
that's it.
think
That's a fluke injury. That's
I
a
just
fluke
think
injury.
I just think it's fluke injury. So, though that injuries are part of the game, we all know that for every sport, and has it marred the playoffs? It's been unfortunate in the playoffs, but I don't think it's marred the playoffs because you still got to go out there and play good basketball. You still got to win. So I'm gonna say no to that question. Um, Thinking about the Eastern Conference Finals, are you a believer in the Bucks? Are you a believer in the Bucks? I haven't been all season. I thought they should have lost to the Brooklyn Nets, who
Yeah.
apparently who face injuries
Mhm.
again. Um, what's your thoughts on the Bucks? Are you a believer in the Bucks?
Well, I don't know what the current score is right now. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up. Is the score? I they I guess I think the Bucks are more talented. They have the deeper roster, but I don't think the coaching is there.
Yeah, I
They're
agree.
winning.
That
They're
agree with
winning
that.
by 16 right now.
Oh,
Um,
they're up. Yeah, they as they should be. But okay.
they're 83-99 for the people
Yep.
that are might not be able to know what the score is right now, but um, they are the more deeper team. I think they have the more veteran team, uh, in my opinion, out of the two. But the coaching is what is
Black.
Bud's inability to make adjustments. Obviously, they're winning tonight, but for the most part, has had them, I guess, exposed to some extent. Because obviously, last series, James Harden was hobbling around on one foot. They did not attack him. A coach of Ty Lue, who I know you covered the Clippers, would have made an adjustment on that. I mean, they would have put Harden in some type of pick and roll situation where you could test that knee out or that leg out. Other coaches, I know Monty Williams would have done adjustments to put Harden in pick and roll situation. But you asked me about the Bucks. I mean, at this point, there's only two teams left in the East, so you got to pick one of them. Like I said, they have the talent to get to the finals. Do I believe in them? I think Phoenix is going to win regardless of who comes out of the East. But if I had to pick between the two, I would take Milwaukee. But it's not a runaway situation. It depends on what Bud's game plan is for that night. In my opinion.
I think Milwaukee would have the Suns would have a tougher time beating the Milwaukee Bucks than the Atlanta Hawks.
I'm not saying it was a sweep. I'm not saying it's going to be a sweep.
No. I'm just saying. I'm saying the Bucks or the Suns would have a bigger, tougher time beating the Bucks than the Hawks. But I'm not a believer in the Bucks. I haven't been a believer in the Bucks. I kind of see them like Toronto Raptors were a few years ago. 2 years in a row, they get the number one seed in the East, and they get bumped out of the playoffs early. Although the Bucks are hanging around here, that's largely due to injuries. But when Atlanta loses their best player, as they did last game, and although Giannis went down, he went down late in the third quarter.
Right.
And the Bucks should have been up by 20 at that point. And it was, I think Atlanta was up. I don't remember the exact score, but I think they had double-digit lead at the time. And that's something that shouldn't happen. And that's, as you mentioned, it's coaching. And let me ask you a question, kind of off script here. 3 of the 4 coaches who coach in the Final Four, if you will, for the NBA, the Western Conference had 2 former players in it. The Eastern Conference had one former player in it. So 3 of the 4 coaches left in the Final Four were former players. What does that say to you? And it kind of we're gonna get into it later when we talk about the coaching carousel. But what does that say to you? And does that spark a new trend within the NBA that they're just going to keep not drafting, but putting these former players in position to lead these teams?
I mean, it's been kind of normal. I mean, Phil Jackson led the Lakers and the Bulls to championships. He's a former player, won championship.
Good point.
Bill Russell was a player coach, then transitioned into a coach. Lenny Wilkins. I mean, the trend has been around for a while. Pat Riley, Jerry Sloan, Scott Brooks. I mean, like I said, the trend has been around for a while, so I'm not surprised. Chauncey Billups, is now coaching with the Portland Trailblazers. Jason Kidd is in Dallas now. Rick Carlisle's an ex-coach in Indiana. I mean, an ex-player in Indiana. Udoka was a player at one point. Steve Nash. So I mean, it seems kind of normal to me now. I mean, like if it was like some of these other maybe a Greg Popovich or someone like that. I think Quinn Snyder, like a Quinn Snyder or a somebody like that. I mean, the people that did not play basketball at some type of professional level are not, they're starting to be phased out as coaches.
That's a good point. The trend has been around for quite a while. I don't think we've seen it although you mentioned quite a few coaches who's been in that role, who's also played the game. I don't think we've seen it to this point. As I just mentioned, I mean, we'd have to do some homework to see when's the last time the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference had 4 coaches, or 3 of the 4 coaches who's been players in the NFL or NBA. I don't know when that's the last time that happened. We'd have to do some homework on that. We don't have to do it now, but that's a good point. You bring up a great point that it's been a trend for a while now. So that's a great point. Um, we kind of touched on it right now. I already mentioned that I think the Bucks will have a better chance to beat the Suns. Who do you have presenting the better challenge against the Suns in the finals? Atlanta or the Bucks?
Well, because the fact that Nate McMillan has the ability to make adjustments, which has been the biggest issue for the Bucks, I think that Atlanta would have a better opportunity to beat them because they have a coach that's actually going to be, once again, make the adjustments needed um, to compete with Phoenix. In my opinion, I don't think Coach Bud has that in his repertoire, and that's why he might. I mean, obviously, he still might get fired even if he wins the championship. You know what I'm saying? So, that could be a possibility as well.
Well, I don't know if they fire him if we win the championship. I'd be surprised if that happened, but
funnier things have happened.
But I feel your point. I feel your point. Chris Paul, man. Chris Paul heats up, and he went on his personal 31 points in the second half, just completely lit up the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he was making his own adjustments on the court because when DeMarcus Cousins was out there, he was looking for him, seeking him out every time, and just abusing the Clippers right there. So much so we had players taking umbrage and trying to retaliate on the court before the game was over at the disrespect they felt that Chris Paul was giving the Clippers. What do you think? Who deserves more credit for the Suns' success this season? Is it Chris Paul or Monty Williams?
Well, Monty had a team. He taught these players last year. Some people will say if DeAndre Ayton did not get suspended for those 25 games, we don't know what the Suns would have been as far as playoff position. But I think that they might have been maybe a 5 or 6 seed last year, maybe with a healthy DeAndre Jordan. But obviously, clearly, you can see that. Not DeAndre. I'm sorry, DeAndre Ayton. But you can see that Chris Paul has helped elevate this team. DeAndre has said that in press conference that Chris Paul is the best thing that's ever happened to him. I know I spoke to Chris Paul early this year and asked him what DeAndre's ceiling was. He said, that's up to him, but the sky's the limit. He's being compared to, David Robinson. I know Ryan Hollins compared him to the next AD earlier this year. I also don't know that he was compared to Shaq at some point. So, I think Chris Paul helped elevate this team into a finals contender this year.
So you say
I would have to give that to Chris Paul. Yes.
You give Chris Paul more credit.
Yes.
So there was something in obvious. Chris Paul and Monty Williams, they also played and coached together. They were a team when Chris Paul was a rookie in New Orleans.
Yep.
Monty Williams was the head coach there. Obviously, it was a different, almost a lifetime ago. That was 11 years ago, I believe it was. However, I asked Monty a question earlier in the year about the change in Chris Paul that he's seen, and what he said was kind of funny in the sense that Monty Williams knows who he is, where he is in life, and himself as a man. So he's not afraid to say, and he wasn't afraid to say that. I think back then I was trying to force my ideas on Chris Paul, who I wasn't aware of. He was young in his coaching career. Chris Paul was a rookie, and so he was trying to force his ideas on the rookie. Where now he understands that Chris Paul is a veteran in this league. He understands that he's a veteran coach, and it's more of a collaborative effort. He says he probably got in Chris Paul's way years before, where this
Mhm.
year he's allowing Chris Paul to do more on his own, and so that was a sign of growth. That was clearly a sign of maturity from the head coach, and we all know what Chris Paul brings to the court. And
Mhm.
as you stated, he's helping these players grow and helping them the see the possibilities. Monty Williams also said something that just like parents in the world. They may tell their kids something, but somebody else tells them the same thing is received a little differently. So where Monty Williams had these guys last year, he's telling them one thing, but then Chris Paul comes back a year later and giving them a similar message, just in a player form. It's received differently, and so them together is kind of collaborative effort to make these sons who they are. Um, One question I didn't get to ask, and I wish I could have asked these guys, and hopefully I'll get to ask it sometime during the finals, is how much do they feel that bubble, playing in the bubble, going 8-0, served them as going into the offseason prepared? And I think I got an answer to that question because Monty Williams said something to, I think it was last night in the press conference, that they were able to have a boot camp of their own. Kind of, they took some time off, they came back and got prepared for the bubble. That was a kind of a boot camp and the time for them, the players, to come together. They go 8-0, even though they didn't make the playoffs. They had that kind of rebirth, if you will.
Mhm.
And then coming into this year, they kind of were familiar with who they are, what's expected, where they're going to go, what they're trying to do. And just the addition of Chris Paul made that even better. So it's really hard to say. You say Chris Paul. I'm a believer that coaches help and coaches help guide these players and put them in the right situation. And I'm going to have to go 50-50 on my own question because I think they both, the maturity that Monty Williams has shown, clearly the voice that Chris Paul has had with these players played a huge, tremendous dividends in them getting to where they are. So credit to them both. I don't want to slight either one of them, but I say credit to them both for doing what they've done because the whether they actually got to the finals, and some people downgrade them getting to the finals because of injuries. They faced injuries when they played the Lakers in round one. They faced an injured Laker team. They faced an injured Nuggets team,
Mhm.
right? In the Murray was down for the Nuggets in round two, and then they placed an injured Clippers team who was out their best player in Kawhi Leonard. Um, so some people will downgrade kind of their accomplishments, and you have to beat who's in front of you to get where you want to go. So that's what they're able to do. So I give credit to the Suns and their success this year. Maybe they would be my pick to win the championship because of the consistency they've shown throughout the year. Devin Booker, um, Devin Booker coming around, although he's not Kobe, as somebody try to profess. He's the next Kobe. That's not the case. However, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, the collection of they got. Don't forget about Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. They play a big time basketball, helping them get to the way they are. So kudos to those guys, and they would be my pick for the NBA Finals. Would you agree? Are they your pick for the NBA to win the NBA Finals?
Who the Nets? I mean,
The Suns. The
the
Suns.
Suns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Suns winning it all. This is the
Okay.
best opportunity for uh, Chris Paul to win a
Chris
championship,
Paul. Yeah. Yeah.
and if Giannis can get back healthy, it's the best opportunity that he's going to get a championship.
And I
Maybe
think that
Trey Young too, if they can get past Milwaukee. They're losing right now, but it might be the best opportunity that Trey Young can get a championship too. I'll throw his name in there too, because we don't
if
know what's going to happen later on.
we don't know what's going to happen with in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I'll say this: if the Atlanta Hawks beat Milwaukee Bucks, Budenholzer shouldn't be allowed. He shouldn't be allowed on the team plane, on the bus back to the hotel, on the bus back to the team facilities. He should not be allowed He should be fired right there. He should be forced to take off his sweats at the gym.
So
if they
you're
were
saying
to,
they should pull a Lane Kiffin? They shouldn't even let him on the bus. They
they
should
should
leave him.
even
They
let
should leave him at the arena.
they should leave him at the arena. If he actually loses to the Hawks, who and I love Nate McMillan. I love what Nate McMillan has brought to the squad. I love the coaching he's done. I'm a big, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big believer in coaching and how he's got this team ready to play. And I'll tell you something else. I had the Atlanta Hawks kind of being a fourth seed in the playoffs at the beginning of the season because of the talent that they had. I thought they were a very talented team. When they signed Capella, I thought that was huge. Uh, as you know, they got Lou Williams, they got Danilo Gallinari,
Mm-hmm.
they got Cam Reddish, right? Um,
Rondo was they made it. Well, yeah, they made a trade, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, Rondo was actually the person that they signed for $15 million over 2 years.
well, I mean, I didn't think they needed Rondo, but Rondo's he can be a player coach, if you will. If you will, he can be that player coach. But they have a lot of talented pieces, um, and all I think they're a year away from being a major factor in the conference. Even though they're here in the Eastern Conference Finals, I
Mm-hmm.
think they're maybe a year away, maybe two, from being a real force in the conference. But hell, Nate McMillan's done a hell of a job since he's taken over the role. And so going into the season, I had them in the playoffs. I think I had them 4 or 5 in the playoffs. And I had Washington kind of coming up behind at 7 and 8. So those were my two sleeper picks of the Eastern Conference, Washington and Atlanta. And we see what Atlanta's doing. But I just don't. Milwaukee, they should be ashamed of themselves. Simply put, they have so much so-called talent. Uh, Chris Middleton, last year he was a 50, 40, 90 guy. This year he was a couple of percentage points off of being a 50, 40, 90 free throws. He was 89% free throws. Um, However, he's inconsistent. Drew Holiday, he's also inconsistent. He's not as inconsistent, but I just think these guys. I'm disappointed in Milwaukee. They should probably be up in the series 4-1, or they should have won the series 4-1. They shouldn't have gave away 2 games to the Atlanta Hawks. But I'll credit Nate McMillan for earning a couple games. And it looks like they're going to finish them off here and take
That's
go
what I
back.
was just about to look and see if what was
Yeah,
the.
it's 114. They're up 16, 114-98. So it looks like they're about to finish them off and go back to Atlanta, um, up 3-2, and we'll see how they finish the Hawks off, if they can finish the Hawks off. But I mean, it should have been more decisive. They should be closing it out right now, getting ready for the finals. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, if Trae Young gets back before Giannis, which um, it looks like we might not see Giannis for a couple, maybe next week possibly.
Yeah,
Luckily, we don't have any structural damage to I think it's his leg, right? Or is it his knee?
it was a hyperextension, and it was kind of ugly. It was an ugly hyperextension where the knee kind of bends backwards. And
Yeah, I saw a replay. I mean, obviously social media was going crazy. They were a little disrespectful. They, some of them were. Read messages where they said it was karma for Giannis causing Kyrie to go down.
No, man, that's
But you don't want to see players be hurt right there. I mean, just because you don't like the teams that they're playing on, you're not fans of the teams that you're playing on, you don't want to see players getting hurt regardless of who the person is.
yeah,
So,
no. I get don't wish any injury upon anybody, but I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you, that Trae Young has missed these couple games with the injury. That was fluke injury, but the injury he had, it didn't look that severe. Obviously, he had to leave the game right away. They call it a bone bruise. I'm kind of surprised that.
I would be surprised if anybody's 100% at this time of the year. I
Yeah,
mean, Trae Young's having problems with his shoulder. He's having problems with, he got the bone spur. Capella wasn't playing tonight. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't look at the thing. I didn't even watch the game, to be honest with you. But because this is my second appearance or interview today. So
yes,
I haven't watched the game at all, other than the box score. But he as far as I know, as Capella didn't play. Maybe he did. maybe you. I
Yeah.
mean,
Looks like so. It looks like Saturday, July the 3rd, we're going to get Game 6, and the Bucks will have a chance to close it out. So we'll see that if they close it out on Saturday, they'll have like 5 days before the final start on next Thursday. So we'll see this final start a week from today. So we'll see how things transpire. Looking back at the Western Conference Finals from last night, um, the much maligned Paul George gets a lot of slack from everybody, all NBA fans from East Coast to West Coast want to pile on Paul George, largely because his admitting to the mental challenges he was having in the bubble. And if I get a chance, I want to ask him kind of not only how he dealt with that and he got over that going into this season,
mm-hmm.
and then has that admitting that kind of taking pressure off of him personally, not regardless of what everybody else says, has personally addressing that publicly, kind of has that taken some pressure off of him, and does he feel not vindicated is the word, but a sense of relief? I want to ask him that and see what his response is.
Well,
But I think he's personally taken a lot of crap for that, and then giving yourself the nickname, kind of addressing yourself
I
unwarranted, giving himself the nickname of Playoff P. Um, did Paul George earn your respect throughout this playoff series um, with this stellar play? I mean, he's done some things that nobody's done in the NBA before. He's had a stat line that only Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and I think Bill Russell has had before. He's had 20 points in every game of the playoffs this season. What's your thoughts on Paul George? And are you ready? You're one of the guys who was kind of hard on Paul George. Are you ready to cut him some slack for his performance with and without Kawhi Leonard this playoffs?
well, I think a lot of people. I don't think they're going after his mental
Challenges.
admission, or his mental health admission, because that's nothing to really play with. But I think a lot of people, including myself at the time, were going after the fact that he named himself Playoff P, and he didn't always show up as Playoff P. There was obviously his alter ego Pandemic P, Way Off P. I'm just saying some of the name. The new one is Vaccinated P.
So the thing,
But
real quick, it would not to cut you off, but real quick, one of the things that I thought about Paul George that was kind of funny was the Gatorade commercial where he talks about he counts down 3, 2, 1, and makes the game winning shot in the Gatorade commercial, but he's never done that in his whole career. Like I thought that was kind of
well,
I thought that was kind of odd that you would kind of sign up to do that commercial, and knowing that hasn't happened. Go ahead though.
well, I was gonna say. I mean, I think maybe he's hit a couple game winners in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. But he hasn't been the Indiana Paul George in a while, and maybe that was because of the injury that happened at the Olympics. Maybe that was something that got him down at the time. But without Kawhi Leonard, he's I have to admit that he has led this team through through adversity. The last two games, he got him to the Western Conference Finals. He got him through a couple
Big time
games,
games.
against
Big
the
time
Suns,
games.
huh?
I said big time games.
Big time games.
Yeah.
The game 5
Yeah.
against Phoenix, he showed up.
Against
Reggie
Utah.
Jackson also showed up as well. Reggie Jackson is also going to get paid this summer. He did the opposite of Dennis Schroeder. He actually earned his money. Not to say Dennis hasn't, but I mean, the stories that I'm hearing right now, as far as Dennis and stuff like that, Reggie, there's no question Reggie actually showed up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
When you actually earn your money in the playoffs. So I just wanted to get that away. But yeah, Paul George, um, he earned his respect this offseason, especially with Kawhi Leonard going down. Obviously, He had some help with Reggie Jackson, being able to close out uh, the Utah Jazz when everybody thought that once Kawhi went down, they were going to be. It was there was two opportunities to eliminate them. Going back to Reggie Jackson, he's been great this whole postseason. I mean, without his scoring, um, once again, the Clippers might have been eliminated in the first round against Dallas. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I mean, both of those guys
I
have
don't know
stepped up
about
this
I don't
postseason.
know about that one though, but but no, Reggie Jackson has been huge. Reggie Jackson led. He had more 3-pointers made than anybody in the league during this postseason. He shot 42% during this postseason, and yes, He's had a lot of big games, and in turn, he put Patrick Beverly on the bench. Um,
Terrence
now,
Mann as well had a couple good games. I
Terrence,
mean, like I said, the role players have helped the Clippers this season. But I'm saying like there's a couple games where Reggie Jackson has gone off and
yeah,
added like 20 plus points, and it's propelled them um, from losing. I
yeah,
mean, there was a couple games against the Mavericks, if I'm not mistaken, and then obviously there was a few games against the Utah Jazz
yeah. And
specifically,
he had some big games against
and then against the Suns. Yeah,
against the Suns. So yeah, he's played big. Like as you mentioned, he earned himself some money. So, but it's good. It was nice to see Paul George perform well during the big time because, as I said, much maligned. Everybody wanted to give him a bunch of slack, but last night, I think in the game with last night, whether he was out of gas or um, out of gas or not, I would have liked him to put up more shots. I think he went. He didn't have enough buckets for me. I'll look up what he had, the amount of shots he actually took, but I would have liked to see him take more shots because in the elimination game, man, the players were really counting on him. And not that he didn't give it all he could, but it was, I need you to be more aggressive in that situation. Because I don't think he was aggressive enough knowing that they're going home if you don't do the scoring. And yesterday he was 6 for 15. I would have liked him. I would have been okay if he was 6 for 25. Just take 10 more shots. He eclipsed the 26 points mark again, or 21 point mark again. But I would have liked him to put up 25 shots, and try to, because they needed a 35-point performance for him, like he had the previous game. But you
I
can't
mean,
do that now.
what's the final score? I mean, do you really think that those 10 points would have made a difference in the
Well, again, they did beat them by 27, but some of those,
I mean,
um,
even if he would have scored at least 10 more points, right? So they beat him by 27, they beat him by 17 with those 10 points. Where are you getting the rest of the scoring from?
well. So here's what I'm saying. Late in the game, they couldn't stop Chris Paul. Late in the game, they couldn't
You're
stop.
talking about earlier in the game. Okay, I see what
Yeah, throughout the game, I need you to be more aggressive. Although Marcus Morris stepped up and he had 26 points last night, um, and Reggie Jackson chipped in some points. I needed the leader of your team, the star of your team, to kind of be more aggressive when they're going on a run. I need you to kind of help circumvent that run with you making some buckets, and those throughout the course of the game, two or three more buckets or shots per quarter. I need you to help out and kill some of their runs with you making big buckets. And he was 6 for 15. That's an average night. Um, he was the other night. He was what 12 for 20 or 15 for 20. Like, at least give me those five extra shots. He showed you that he wasn't as efficient last night, but he wasn't as aggressive either. I
he
needed
was
more
aggressive
aggressive.
on defense. He was poking people in the eyes. He was aggressive on defense.
we, we,
He he,
we,
po-
we
he, po- he
they
poked a
had
couple people in the eyes last night.
they had their aggression, and so going back to the game last night, going into the game, my thought process was if Terrence Mann, who elevated himself into a starter, without Kawhi Leonard, I think Terrence Mann has elevated himself into a starter role. Terrence Mann and Patrick Beverly, they did a good job most of the series of slowing down Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They did a great job actually. From Devin Booker clearly had the big game one. Cameron Payne had the big game two. Games 3, 4, and 5. The combination of Patrick Beverly, Terrence Mann really slowed down that duel.
Mhm.
And I thought if they did that again, that would help them win. But they weren't able to do that last night. Obviously, Monty Williams went to the drawing board. He came up
Yeah.
with a couple schemes to kind of get Chris Paul free, and also free up Devin Booker. That
And
allowed.
Chris Paul was, he was preparing for his acting debut in Space Jam 2, but with the flopping and stuff like that, but
Yeah, yeah,
it got what you needed done, right? It got you to accomplish. You're in the finals, right?
yeah.
So
It got it done. So I think so. I want to give Paul George some credit for his playoff run. He did good without Kawhi. And there's been some talk this week that without Kawhi, the Clippers have they look formidable. Hell, they took the Western Conference champs to 6 games. They look formidable, and the talk has come up. Should the Clippers bring back Kawhi Leonard, who's going to command 35 to 40 million, or should they take that money elsewhere? I think it's ridiculous that there's even a conversation there. But what do you think? Should the Clippers bring back Kawhi Leonard?
well, with the fact that they don't have any draft picks, from what you probably know this more because you covered the team all year. But from what I've heard, they don't have many draft picks,
Mm-hmm.
and even if they were to try to get somebody like a Spencer Dinwiddie, even if Kawhi walked, they would have to be a sign and trade, and they still might not have enough money. So, I mean, you could obviously go over the cap with trying to re-sign your own players. I mean, if I'm the Clippers, I'm not really trying to have Kawhi walk without doing a sign and trade and try to get some type of value back for him.
Well,
But
that's he has
you want to keep Kawhi in Los Angeles if I'm the Clippers. I
he has
mean,
yeah, certainly.
we've heard we're here in New York, we're here in Miami, we're here in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? From some of these reports, um, you're gonna want to do something if you're the Clippers. You're gonna want it would be best for you to resign him, but we don't know how long he's gonna be out with this injury. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know what the injury is. Technically, they said ACL. Some people said ACL. Some are saying it's just a knee situation from what the officials are saying at the Clippers.
There was
You
some
know what I
talk.
mean?
There was some talk last night that he would play. He would try to play if they made the game 7. If they made it to game 7 against the the Suns, that he would try to play in game 7.
That
So
they also said on TV that that he would depending on no, they said if they made it to the finals. I heard this on ESPN last night. If they made it to the finals, him and his team, the Clippers would talk to him and his team to see what could happen next. But if it's an ACL injury, you're not getting on the court regardless.
yeah, so we
And
don't
that's
know.
probably why they're not coming out and saying that at the time that it was a straight ACL situation, because that means he's out for a year.
Yeah, they wanted to kind of give some guys some hope. Um, Nonetheless, I think it would be. Let me say this. Kawhi, number one, to your point, you would want to get something back for Kawhi, and without him walking, it's a player's options. So Kawhi would have to want to do something with the Clippers. Like
Oh, it is. Okay, then
it,
yeah.
he would have to want to put them in a good situation. If similar to was it similar to the Chris Paul? Where the Clippers traded him?
Chris Paul was a free agent, and he
And,
basically said he went to the Clippers and said, "Hey, he was willing to help them facilitate a trade for Beverly and what's it called, so they could get
but
something."
it was a sign and trade. It was a
Yeah,
sign and
it was
trade.
a
So
kind of trade. Yeah,
yeah. So he agreed to do that.
yeah.
Something. So Kawhi Leonard would have to agree to do that. If I'm so
Kawhi Leonard and Uncle
I
Dennis would
struggle.
have to agree with that.
It's
Yes.
Kawhi and Uncle Dennis. I struggle to think, man, Kawhi, do you want to keep bouncing around the league and just trying to go to different teams
I
and
mean,
different
Kawhi's
cultures?
not being held to the same standards as a LeBron James and Kevin Durant.
No,
Kawhi
but what I'm saying is
is
is do you want to keep San Antonio? You force your way out of San Antonio.
You're
Toronto,
you basically walk away from a championship team in Toronto. If
Toronto
you win the championship, you
they
should have
threw the
stayed there.
country at you. They threw the country at you.
Yeah.
I'm not mad that he won a championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of you satisfying the fan base. They haven't won a championship ever. He wins a championship. Okay, you kind of free to do what you want to do. You
Right.
make your own decisions. You decide, hey, I want to go back and play in my hometown of Southern California. I want to go back to Southern California and play. Okay, then you pull some strings to kind of get the team with the players that you want to play with.
Yep.
And now you're here, and before the end of the contract, he's been here 2 years. He has a player option. You're gonna say now I want to go somewhere else? Like I just don't. It doesn't register with me. I'm not an NBA All Star. I'm not a NBA three-time champion now? NBA Final champion.
He's a two-time champion.
Didn't he win two in San
He
Antonio?
won one in San Antonio, one in Toronto. He lost that. It would have been two, but Ray Allen shot, remember?
Yeah, okay. Nonetheless,
yeah, it was Ray Allen shot that cost them that championship. But
Chelsea Gray right over here. Chelsea Gray just come down to the restaurant. Nonetheless, he's a multi-time champion, NBA champion. Does he want to just keep bouncing around the league? Like, I don't understand that. Like, don't you want to get home, be somewhere, and then make this team yours, make this environment yours? Isn't that something you would rather do than go to another team and kind of go through this whole process again?
Like, I mean, he would have had a championship if he would have just, if he would have played it right and came to the Lakers. He wins a championship last year.
Oh boy!
If he, I'm just saying, he used them as leverage to get to the Clippers. So, if that's what you're looking for, you could have got that last year.
I applaud him for wanting to go kind of not play with the juggernaut, go to beat the juggernaut. I applied that more, and you get more credit for you actually get more credit for trying that angle than just to join the team. You get more
Cam, you got to think about it this way. He's not in a Kevin Durant type of situation. He's not in a LeBron situation.
Exactly.
He's not that guy that people are looking at. Oh, well, he's the one that's doing this. He's not getting the flack that Kevin Durant's getting over the last 2 weeks. If he goes to the Lakers, you see what I'm saying? He doesn't get the Kawhi. He doesn't get the Golden State side of things.
Well, Kevin Durant will forever until he wins a championship, whether it be with the Brooklyn Nets or the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's never going to get over that. He can't get away from the fact that he joined the juggernaut. And I understand Kawhi Leonard not wanting to go down that route, not want to be that guy. I understand that 100%. So, like, as I say, I personally give him credit for going and trying to win with a team who's never done it before, than going to join a franchise that has won without you multiple times. So that's my opinion. I just don't see, and I've heard, I mean, you could talk about what you've heard, but I've heard Kawhi Leonard wants to team up with some other players in the NBA and possibly end up in New York or possibly end up in Dallas. But I'm like, dude, now you're just starting all this over again. So I don't understand why he wouldn't want to do it. I'm clearly not Kawhi. I'm a different person than Kawhi. I don't understand why he does everything he does, but nonetheless, I find it interesting that it's even a conversation that he would want to.
You want to keep your options open, man. You want to keep your options open. You want to put leverage over people. He's looking for a new contract. Obviously, the Clippers can pay him the most, right? But maybe it's not what he's looking for. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if anything he doesn't like here in with the Clippers, he has one conversation with Ballmer that's fixed immediately. Whether if it was team facilities, if he didn't like the bus, if the bus was too small, if he didn't like the training facility, he thinks it should be on the other side of town. That's not a problem. Ballmer fixes that instantly, with his suggestions. If it's a new coach, if it's new.
I mean, they got the new coach last year.
Exactly my point.
They got they got rid of Doc last year.
exactly my point. So now this wasn't good enough. The changes we made last year weren't good enough for you.
You
You
got
came
rid of
here
You got rid of Trez. Lou Will's out of there, right? You know what I'm saying?
again. So we brought you in. The team was this way. We talked to you and Uncle Dennis. We made some changes, and now
They
you
mortgaged the
want
future. They
now you
mortgaged
want to
the
go
future for Paul George.
and now you
Yeah,
want to go
what was it,
elsewhere.
five or
Like
six picks for Paul
exactly,
George?
exactly my point. You understand? You get what I'm saying now. So that's all I'm saying. Like you want to go now. You want to go to now you want to go to New York and ask them to make all these changes, bring all these people here. If I'm the Knicks, man, I'm saying, okay, here's your contracts. Sign up and come play here. If you want to come, if you want to be here, sign up and play. We're
I
not doing
mean,
all these changes for you. We're not making all these changes.
I mean, the
Well, if I'm
the
New York,
Knick-
I might not be saying that if I'm the Knicks. But
the Knicks will. I mean,
I mean,
if Kawhi
if
signs, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to have to, give up mortgage the future to
the
accommodate.
Knicks was a bad example. If I'm Miami Heat, I've heard him have rumors to be in tie with the Miami Heat.
But see, the thing with
If the Miami Heat, I'm not making all these.
well,
Um,
they're not going to
I'm,
make demands. But see, the thing is, all that load management that's happening, that's not going to fly with Pat Riley.
yeah.
He traded Shaq for being out of shape. So why? How is he going to? He's going to
Well,
deal with the.
Kawhi's issue is not out of shape though.
No, 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 no. But I'm
Kawhi's issue is
saying
not shape. So I
no.
feel what you're saying.
What I'm saying is the fact that the load management and stuff like that, that's not going to fly with Pat Riley.
So
We know
so
how
so
that runs down there in Miami. They run a tight ship down there.
and I understand it 100%. So what that tells, let's have this discussion. Is that with his recent injury, whether it's now he left San Antonio with the quad injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't completely healthy. This year,
Mm-hmm.
he was supposedly healthy this season. He didn't load
Mm-hmm.
management this year. He did that last year, all right, because he wasn't feeling himself. He did this year to kind of prove he is a teammate, to be more part of the team, to exert his influence as a teammate, showing that he's willing to show up every game. He did not load management this year. Although there was a couple games he didn't he sat out back to backs, whatever. But having this knee injury, does this show that load management kind of he benefits the players by taking a game off here or there? Did that show that he kind of benefit from that, and then kind of vindicating him in a sense? You follow what I'm saying? So when he goes to Pat Riley and say, "Hey, dude, it's not 100. I'm not 100% healthy. I'm not load management just because I want rest or because I need an extra day to kick it at night. It's to preserve my body so I can be ready for the playoffs." I don't know. That's a conversation we can have somewhere down the line. But whether he ends up visiting the Heat or visiting the Knicks or visiting the Mavericks, I just wonder how many teams are going to capitulate to his demands, considering his track record, where he's going to come and play for a couple of years and then want to go play elsewhere. I mean, he's going to be 30 years old. He's going to be 30 years old this offseason. How often how often are teams going to capitulate to these demands that he has?
I mean, what he's got all the leverage though, my guy. He had all the leverage
He
with the Clippers.
he had all the leverage.
Well, he's not. I
He
mean,
had
right now, right, he's going into to the offseason not healthy. When he left,
right,
when he
right,
left Toronto,
exactly.
he like you said, he had all the leverage.
Yeah,
Now, um,
he had the leverage. He came to Clippers after winning
a championship, yeah,
winning a championship, being NBA the Finals
Finals
MVP.
MVP. Hmm.
So he's not that.
He doesn't have the leverage at the moment.
And he hasn't won. So can he go to Miami Heat and say that I need this? I need you guys to change up your training facility. I need room for Uncle Dennis on the team bus. I need him. I need that on the team plane. Or have that same conversation in New York. New York's a different animal. They're gonna have to do that if they want to star like that. They're gonna have to kind of capitulate. New York is a bad example. But whether it be the Mavericks or the Heat, wherever he decides to go, are they going to have those? If he has those same demands, will they capitulate like that? I don't know that I would. And so that was kind of my question: is should the Clippers bring him back? I say absolutely, the Clippers should bring him back because of what
They
they
don't have any
invested.
choice. They don't have the
Yeah,
cap room to go sign anybody. So yes,
because of what they invested in them, they kind of have to bring him back.
yes. So they
So
need him back. Yes.
yeah. So they need him back. There was also some talk about him and Paul George, like with him gone, Paul George's game seemed to elevate, and I'm not sure that's the case. I don't
Well,
necessarily agree with that particular situation. His game was to elevate because they played a lot of the same situations. They both play iso ball, and how that changes the game. Like in last night, in the game last night, have they had Kawhi Leonard to score those extra 27 points and play defense, so they don't get 130 points? I think that game is different. I think the series is different. So I'm not buying that theory that Paul George's game elevated without, or
well,
Paul George is better without Kawhi Leonard. Do you buy that?
well. I mean, obviously they both play the same position. So really, as we've seen them work together, they're not really compatible with each other,
You
right?
agree with that? Okay.
So with that being said, Paul George hasn't been able. It looks like he thrives as being the number one option. That's what it seems like it's been the last 3 weeks now, because since Kawhi's been out, three
Two
four
and a half,
weeks,
two
about a
and a half
month,
weeks. Yeah, no, it hasn't been that long. It's been 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks,
Yeah, it's been 8 games.
8 games. So
Yeah,
maybe 2.5 weeks, right? Well,
yeah,
in Indiana, when he was the main option, we saw Paul George on the rise, right?
yeah.
When he was in um,
Okay, see.
OKC, he was the number one option.
Was he the number one option with Russell Westbrook?
He was the number one option.
Okay,
He was the
okay,
number one option in
okay.
OKC. Let's
He,
not even let's not even
okay.
let's not even talk about that.
I
He
mean,
was
he
the
played.
number one option.
He was in the MVP race. He was number 3 in the MVP race.
Yes,
Okay,
Russell with his
but it's hard to say though that his game was better without Kawhi. I mean, in the wins, certainly he had some better numbers. It's hard to say that because I think he I had this conversation just last week. Paul George is not the number. He's not going to be the best guy to win the championship.
Oh
He,
no, I'm not
he's not
saying
going.
that. I'm just
He's
saying
not going to be the best guy on your team to win a championship. I think we would agree that Kawhi Leonard is a better basketball player than Paul George. So having a conversation is mute. It doesn't make sense to me because number one, with him as your best player, you're not going to win a championship. He's had time in Indiana to prove that. He's
some of his fans will say that the reason why he didn't get a championship is because uh, that guy that's in the other locker room in Los Angeles is the
across
reason
the
why.
hall.
Yeah,
Okay, whatever the reason is, it hasn't happened.
right.
Whatever the reason is, it hasn't happened. Okay, so now that guy's still over and he's still in the same conference as that other guy.
Yeah.
So what's different now? What's different now? He's not going to do that. So for just that reason alone, and you mentioned that they play the same positions, they're not compatible. I disagree with that because there's been games this season where they both have scored over 30 points.
I mean,
I particularly don't care for the iso ball.
yeah.
That's been one of my complaints about the two of them. I don't care for that type of ball, but he wants to play with the ball in his hands. He becomes a better playmaker. I don't necessarily think that's the answer for him because he's overexerted himself, and when we really need him, he puts up 15 shots. He goes 6 for 15 in a game 6 situation when we're facing elimination. I like to see somebody else help him get shots. Help him get easy shots. Help him cut.
Well, that's what Rondo was supposed to be. That's what Rondo was supposed to be.
Yeah, you're right.
Person, right?
That's
and
what
Rondo didn't get much
be.
PT during the
Rondo
last series
because Rondo was pounding the ball. I thought Rondo would match up with Chris Paul well and help slow Chris Paul's situation down. I thought that would be a good response to what Chris Paul would do. We didn't see Rondo at all yesterday because of what Rondo takes away from the team. So that's kind of concerning.
I mean, but the funny thing is, everybody's talking about how this ISO ball, right? But that was the main big reason why somebody else was out of the league for a year almost. before he was picked up from by Portland, right? ISO ball was over with, right?
It should, in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of it. Yes, I think this guy you're talking about has a few more years than.
Didn't I tell you he had a couple more years?
And no, I'm saying
everybody was saying he was washed.
I think he still is washed. He has a few more years. He has a few more years on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and then Paul George and Kawhi Leonard also play defense. That other guy you're talking about plays zero defense.
Who really plays defense in the league nowadays, Cam?
Again, we expected Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to play defense. That other guy you're talking about plays zero defense.
You know who else doesn't play zero defense? But he's still in MVP conversation. Actually, two people because they kind of play similar.
Who's that?
Steph Curry plays no lick of defense.
Okay.
Trae Young plays no lick of defense.
Oh, come on, stop. Trae Young is not in the conversation. Either of these guys we're talking about. He's not in the conversation of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry.
No, they play defense to some extent. But I'm saying
don't bring that up.
Who plays defense?
It's too soon for that conversation. It's too soon.
Who plays defense? I'm just saying you're saying that they play lick of defense, but who actually plays defense?
What I'm talking about is the point you brought up is these guys play iso ball. They can shoot out the gym. Those two, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, these guys can shoot out the gym. That's why you're changing up the conversation. We were talking about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and them playing a lot of a high style of iso ball, and you were comparing those guys to somebody else who plays iso ball who's been out the league for
Carmelo Anthony. I'll say his name. Carmelo.
Yeah, say his name. But these guys play defense. That other guy doesn't play defense. So where you say iso ball should have been out the league, and he was froze out the league for a little bit, that he was froze out because he didn't play any defense, and who just needs somebody to put up 20 shots a game.
But my thing is though, the coaches this is a totally different conversation. We can talk about this later. But the coaches that were dogging Melo during that time never taught defense. George Karl never taught a lick of defense, and Mike D'Antoni doesn't know nothing about defense, bro.
That's fair enough.
Simple about defense.
That's fair enough. That doesn't stop. That to answer your question, those guys didn't play. Do play a little bit of defense. So we got the question answered. Should they bring back Kawhi Leonard? Do you think they should bring back Reggie Jackson, or is Reggie just earned too much money to?
I would offer him something. I'm not letting Reggie Jackson walk off the door.
They can offer him 10. I think it's like a $10.5 million.
I mean, they can. What is he? An unrestricted free agent?
Yes.
I mean, I would offer him something. I'm not trying to do a sign and trade for Reggie Jackson though, because you can't do two with one team.
No. Either they sign him or he's going to. You know
elsewhere,
how much?
Yeah,
he's going elsewhere. How much? You know, I can't. You know, it's too many 28 teams in the league. But if you're the Dallas Mavericks, for example, or the Miami Heat, as another example, or the Boston Celtics. Let's talk about somebody who needs an additional scorer on the team, ball handler and scorer. Do you offer him 15, 16 million?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Mavericks are going to have to possibly re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr., who had a good season this season. I mean, I personally think that it was because it was a contract year. Being that I watched him all year.
In multiple seasons.
What do you mean?
And you said you watched him all year, but then as well you've seen him. He's been there.
I've seen him in multiple seasons. So I've seen the difference from last year. I saw the difference where they were trying to trade him before a couple years ago, or 2 years ago. And yes, they're gonna try to re-sign him. They're gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do with Porzingis.
So that's kind of my next question. Let's jump into that right now. Just what do you do with Porzingis? What do you do with KP?
I talked
about two guys who are uncompatible. Was that Luka and KP? Luka apparently doesn't like playing with him. and
Well,
KP doesn't seem to give them
the
what
reason
they
why
need.
Luka, I mean, I don't know how overblown that is. I don't want to discredit the person that's putting out these what's it called, but that same writer put out a story about DeAndre Jordan trying to to freeze out Luka. That was not necessarily true either, but
DeAndre Jordan.
yes, the person that you're talking that's been quoted about the fact that
They don't like playing with each
they don't
other.
like to be playing with each other. The reason why Luka has a problem is because Porzingis has been injured.
Okay.
But he said he's a good player. I mean, I'm not saying that he's doing that for political reasons and everything else, but I'm saying that basketball politics, and there's politics and everything, but uh Porzingis hasn't been on the floor long enough to
For them not to get
benefit.
along. For them
Huh?
not to get along.
Yeah,
He
for
hasn't
them
been
not to get along. Yes,
okay.
I think it's more of the fact that Luka needs somebody that is going to be healthy, and if they're not going to be healthy, then they need to make a change. But also, if he can't stay healthy, what is the medical staff doing? You know what I'm saying?
Fair, but I mean,
I talked to a trainer that's
okay.
that a basketball trainer. He said that Porzingis is doing movements with his body that he shouldn't be able to do at 7'3". You know what I'm saying? So he might need to train. He was saying that Porzingis needs to play lower, train lower to stay on the floor.
So when you say train lower, train less?
No. Like train his lower body to
Body.
be
Okay. Okay.
to be more durable.
All right. So
With
let me
his
ask
shot.
you a question. KP, how long is KP? He been in the league 4 or 5 years now.
I think he came at 15.
Okay. So
He's been in there about 6 years. Yeah, I think.
okay. So 6 years, and then he's been a basketball player for how long? Like playing just how long has he played just basketball? Period. In college and from high school to college or
I don't
whatever.
think he played college, but I think
He came in at 15. You're absolutely correct. So that's 6 years. Um, how long? But how long has he played basketball in general? So you would speculate he's from Europe. He's in Latvia, so he's played.
we're assuming that
Uh,
he's been playing since he's been 10 or 12, possibly,
right,
right?
right.
I mean,
So what I'm getting at is he should have some basketball legs, right? His body's been in the sport for a while now. It's not like so when you saying he should be training his lower body to be playing, these aren't moves that he's not doing anything he's unfamiliar with, right? He's not he didn't grow he didn't play like let's take Anthony Davis for example, who
who
played guard all the way up until um, high school, and then he grew 11 inches. Now he's playing low post, and actually that's a pretty
that's a
interesting
good
thought.
comparison.
I
Yeah,
just thought about that. I just thought about maybe that's why he's getting injured now because now he's playing a different style of basketball than he's played for a big portion of his life. You follow what I'm saying?
yeah, and
So
that's exactly. Porzingis is 25. He's been playing basketball. It seems like professionally, or somewhat professionally since 2012.
so we're going at right now almost 10 years that he's been playing. So
Yeah.
when you say when the trainer says he needs to train his body, his lower body, is he really doing anything different than he's asked his body to do? Now I don't know about Porzingis like I know about Anthony Davis, so
Right.
that just kind of bring up something.
And I talked to the same trainer about Anthony Davis because people were obviously I was on Clubhouse. People were saying that they were saying that Anthony Davis is chef.
Regiment?
His
Okay.
chef and regimen were saying that he likes to eat pizza all day long. Well, if he's eating pizza all day long, he wouldn't be in the shape that he's in, right? But
Right.
we're taking literally of what somebody said to that's all he
So
eats.
ask that trainer. Take this question back to that same trainer since you have the communication with. how does that affect his body? And let's use Anthony Davis as an example, because we know he was playing point guard. He was 6'1", playing point guard until he was a fresh or until he was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Then boom, he shot up as a freshman in college. Now he goes from 6'1", 6'2" to 6'11". And how does that change the body, the makeup of the body, and is the body able to he has kind of a muscle memory of a point guard or a guard position. Now he's being asked to play forward. How does that change his body type? And does
Well,
that
I kind of wrote a like an article about, I don't remember all that's in it, because it's been about 2-3 weeks since I actually wrote the article. But from what he was saying is like that takes a toll. Like basically, you're asked you're what, 6'5", 6, I mean 6, 6'3", 6'4", and then you shoot up to basically you're 6'11". You shoot up 7 or 8 inches and stuff like that. That does a lot to your joints. You know what I'm saying? Like,
does it weaken the joints? I'd be interested to know. Does that now weaken the joints?
You know what? Now that you said it, I'm going to follow up with that terminology. I mean, with that specifically to get a better answer on that. But yeah, like you're asking him to be a point guard, and now you're asking him to be in the post. That's not easy to do.
Right. Does it? Does that his body type is, even though he shot up 8 inches,
he still thinks he's a point guard, basically.
Well, mentally he thinks he's a point guard, but his body type is that still a point guard body type versus now just because he has the size and we try to stick him down low. And that's something I really never considered. The reason clearly he thinks he's a point guard, he wants to shoot jumpers, he wants to take people off the dribble. But is it just because he has that muscle
reason why
memory?
He doesn't like playing center.
He doesn't like playing center because he feels, hey, I got guard skills. I just happen to be 6'11". So that's an interesting concept. I'd like to follow back, Landon, on that particular topic. That'd be a good follow up for us. Let's move on, man. Talking about Damian Lillard.
D Lillard.
If you're Lillard, do you stay in Portland? And
it's kind of funny. I was able to ask Damian Stoudemire about this.
Okay.
He said to temper the conversation, he's one of the biggest Damian Lillard fans, right?
Okay.
But he said if they can't get him any help, right, he got to get up out of there, right?
So go ahead.
But he did say that Damian Lillard is he feels, in his opinion, that Damian Lillard is the best, the greatest Blazer of all time.
Over Bill Walton?
He said, in his opinion.
Over Clyde Drexler?
In his opinion, he thinks yes.
Wow, I mean that's over. Who else? Who else got to think about? I mean, Terry Porter got to 2 finals back to back as a guard. So, wow, best ever, Damon. I'd like to have that conversation with Damon, ask him about those couple players. But so there's been, I think you sound like you heard some of the same rumors bouncing around.
I mean, from I'm not going to put anybody on the bus, but he's moving. His camp is moving different this summer. They're trying to figure out what's going. I mean, like, and it has nothing to do with the Chauncey hiring as much. That probably didn't help. But
so I asked Chris Haynes on the show. I had Chris Haynes on the show last week. I asked Chris Haynes that exact question. Chris Haynes, I know he has a relationship, as you know, he has a relationship with Dame Lillard.
Mm-hmm. He's as close as Dame as anybody. If I would believe anything Chris is saying about Dame over Woj.
I asked Chris specifically, is Dame standing in Portland? And he said, that's a good question. His exact quote, and I didn't push it. I didn't take it any further. That told me that he knows something, and that there's potentially somebody's packing their bags. Somebody's packing their bags. That's what that told me. It was pretty interesting. But
thank you, Chris Haynes, by the way, because I put out something a couple weeks last Friday. That he wanted an all-star. He wants help.
So when you say help, I mean, you had CJ McCollum. CJ's not good enough. Do you want Ben Simmons? Like when you say help, who are you looking for? I mean, are you looking for?
Well, there was talk that he was trying to see if the availability of Draymond Green. Remember that report,
So
right?
well, Draymond Green, and that's odd that who it sound like to me. Or I've heard that from a couple of different sources. It sounded like Draymond Green was trying to get to Portland. I don't know if he's trying to get to Portland in the what are the microbreweries up there, or the or the good um,
Well,
the
remember
fertile green the
Miami
fertile
allegedly.
dispensaries they have there up there in Portland. I don't know what Draymond Green.
I don't know. I mean, well, if you're talking about dispensaries, I mean, you're in the Bay Area. I mean, like it's pretty much you're
Okay,
not missing much between Portland,
Portland,
Seattle, and
but I mean, it's a
Bellingham,
little.
and what's it called? That whole coastline
It's,
right there. If it's for the dispensaries, you're good then, right? But uh
I don't know. I don't know what it sounded like. Draymond's trying to force his way to Portland, and I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. And
well, guess who is on that USA team? You don't think people are going to recruit? Zach LaVine is going to go to recruit to see if he can get people to Chicago or get
no,
recruited to elsewhere.
actually, I heard that Zach Levine might not
Get
be staying in
recruited
Chicago.
elsewhere.
Yeah, I heard he might not be staying in Chicago.
You know what I'm
Actually,
saying? I haven't heard anything on that on Zach LaVine. I'm just saying like people are going there to recruit.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So or get recruited.
right, okay,
Bradley Bill's going to be out there.
right. Yeah, I don't
I
know. I
put
don't
out a
know if he.
report about that earlier this year too, and that was debunked. But
Okay,
people, people are going out there to recruit.
so
Kevin Durant's going to be out there too. Uh, Kevin Love is going to be out there.
that's
Jason
surprising.
Tatum's going to be out there.
That
These guys are going to be chatting with each other, trying to get to know each other during that time period. And recruit. You remember after I think it was the Redeem team. Um,
then we had the guys that show up in
di-
Miami.
Then we had all those guys show up in Miami.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I feel you. And that makes sense. So we'll see. I mean, I just when you say help, I'm curious as to help that Dame is looking for, and then Dame. So I've heard Dame wants to play with Luka Doncic. I actually heard that. Have you heard that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Jason Kidd. He's been on a record and said he wanted to play for Jason Kidd in Portland. Huh. Jason Kidd is now in Dallas.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, I
He
don't know how. I'm not sure how that
I
works.
know that he respects
Although
Jason Kidd.
although I understand Luca needs somebody to take the pressure off of him as far as the ball handling responsibilities are. Like,
They gotta get Luka off the ball. They have to get him off the ball.
but okay, but tell me this. Answer this question for me. You watch a lot of Luca.
Hmm.
How many players in the league are good as or better than Luca with the ball in his hands? That's a short list. That is a very short list. And then
Hmm.
if I put
Dame is
somebody
one
like
of them.
if I put Dame on the court with Luca, now that doesn't relieve any pressure for Dame because now he's dominating the ball. And sure, he has Luca to pass to, but Luca, I think, feel like maybe I haven't seen this game long enough without the ball. I feel like
The Mavericks need another shot creator and another scorer. So that's why you're hearing names like Bradley Beal. That's why you're hearing names like Zach LaVine. That's why you were hearing names like a Damian Lillard or a Kawhi. I mean, yeah, Damian Lillard,
I heard
Kawhi
that.
Leonard.
That's interesting. Like I don't know that he needs Luca specifically needs somebody as dominant with the ball as Dame is. Like I think he's
I
is
mean, Drew Holiday would have been a perfect fit, but couldn't get his hands on him.
yeah,
Um, Buddy,
Buddy Hill.
Buddy Hield would be a good piece. I reported something earlier this year
And see,
that
so Buddy
yeah,
Hill's a shooter though. He's not one of your premier ball handlers.
no,
I can see where that works because now Lucas still has the ball in his hands. He's able to penetrate and kick it out to a shooter. I can see how that works. He's probably more consistent as than Hardaway Jr. Buddy
Yeah,
Hield goes
Hardaway's
there.
streaky. He's
Yeah,
streaky. If
yeah.
he's having a
So
good game, he's having a good game. But there's been times where he's disappeared this year.
and yeah, so
He'll have
I
a good
see.
game and then he'll disappear.
Yeah, so I see how that would work. But again, as I'm saying, Buddy Hield's not a ball handler; he's a shooter. So he's not taking the ball out of Luka's hands. Where I could see how they need somebody to kind of take the ball out of Luka's hands, but at the same time, I just don't know how many guys are better than him with the ball in his hands, and I don't know that I want to do that. So, what about Ben Simmons in Dallas? What do you think about them? You get a ball handler, you get a ball handler, you get somebody
What
to
is he
play
going to
defense.
take to pry Ben Simmons out of Philly?
Shit, I don't know.
For Dallas.
The stock is low right now, isn't it? Isn't it stock low?
So what are you gonna do? You're gonna try to flip Porzingis for Ben Simmons, but he needs to shoot. Ben Simmons is gonna need to shoot, and
no. Why? You got Porzingis. You got Luka. Ben Simmons is going to solve a couple problems. He's a ball handler that they need, right? And he's a premier defender that they need. Those are a couple of things that the Mavericks haven't had. And
they thought they were getting with Josh Richardson, right? But
a defender,
the defender, that's what they were looking for. He was a ball handler and he was a defender, right? But you're gonna have to trade for Ben Simmons, right?
Yeah.
Who are you flipping for Ben Simmons? I mean, like who? Like
obviously, Porzingis is going to be in
Porzingis, Maxey, maybe a.
No, I'm not giving up Maxey. If I'm Philly, I'm not giving up Maxey.
No, I'm talking about Maxey Kleber.
Oh yeah, okay.
And maybe a Brunson, send him back home.
Oof. I'd hate to give up Brunson.
I would too. But I think, but you know what? I think that
they ask for him,
he has the potential to become an all-star if he.
I'd hate to give up Brunson. I wouldn't give up Brunson. I wouldn't bring up Brunson's name if I didn't have to. I'll put it like that. I wouldn't.
Well, to be honest with you, if Luka was playing at his natural position, and wasn't the point, playing the point forward position, if he was actually being that type of person, Brunson would be on the floor. You know what I'm saying?
Who would I? Woody Cauley-Stein might be able to go.
I mean, he's coming off the books. He only signed a 1-year deal. So I mean,
really? So he's not there. Like a Dorian Finney-Smith, a Trey Burke.
You could trade those guys, but what I mean,
yeah, and your boy Porzingis. I mean, there has to be.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, almost anybody on this team except if I can hold on to Cleveland.
I think everybody's available for trade purposes for the right price except for 77.
Yeah, again, so almost any combination of these guys would work. But I would try to keep Brunson if I.
I've heard Marcus Smart for possible Brunson deal maybe, or a Robert Williams and some other stuff.
If I'm Boston, I'm not giving up Marcus Smart. That's their best trade piece. But if I'm Boston, if I'm Boston, I'm not giving him up. That's.
But I've also heard them possibly trade. What's his do? The other all-star that they had.
Brown.
Yeah.
I need a big time player. If I'm giving up Brown, I need somebody who steps in right now and give me 20. Give me 20 and plays some amount of defense. Like he's too good just to say I'm taking get off the books. So let's move on, man. What do you think about these new coaches going around? Billups in Portland. How do you think that works? You got the Mavericks and Jason Kidd. Udoka with the Celtics. Who has the best job out of that group?
Udoka.
Okay. Because he's comfortable in his position, or there's not a lot of movement, which seems like there's going to be some movement with the Mavericks and the Blazers.
You don't know what's going to happen in Portland, right? With Dame, right? So Dame could leave, and Chauncey could be in a situation kind of like my man Stephen Silas in Houston, right?
Houston's going to turn around. Houston's going to be better quick. And give them a couple years, they're going to end up with a lot of talent. They got a lot of talent in there.
If the draft goes the way that it's supposed to,
they have number 2. They're going to get Mobley.
Green will be there at 2, right? I talked to his
Mobley. Green or Mobley, either one. I think they're going to be they're number 2. They're going to be in a good position.
I think Detroit should open up their their thought process outside of the number one. I don't
You
think
think they
what's
should
name
trade
should
him?
be a lock for number one pick.
Who? Green?
No, I don't think Cunningham should be the lock for the number one pick. But
Oh,
that's
I
just
got the K Cunningham. Yeah.
I think that they should look into Green a little bit more. But that's because I've been talking to his trainer, so I mean that could be a little bit biased. But
So either one, I think Mobley is going to meet. Mobley's the guy at number 2. They get another big man who can move.
they
They
don't
have
they don't need, they don't need another big man.
who? What do they need?
They need another
They,
scorer.
Mobley does everything. Mobley scores. He scores
So
that from the small forward to the center. He can score.
if they pick him up, then they need to go ahead and trade what's his face
Who?
at center. They came over from
No,
Detroit.
no, no. Woods?
Yeah.
No, no. They need to pair them together. Why? What's wrong with having 2 big men who rebound and who can rebound and score?
So who?
We're
So
talking
so
about 2 guys at the cup. You need that. Then they have the young boy from Rainier Beach to as a
Kevin
scorer.
Porter. Kevin Porter. Yeah.
As a scorer, they played him at guard earlier in the year, so you can play him at guard or your small forward. You can play him anywhere, guard to small forward. You add Mobley to that team, another person, another swing man who can play multiple positions. I mean, now they're looking
And then
for
you got to
somebody
do
like
something.
now they're looking for somebody like JJ Redick. Now they're looking for somebody like I say JJ Redick, a drop dead shooter.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Some
Yeah.
just somebody who can stand outside and let those guys work. That's what you're doing. Like I don't know what you.
And then you got to get your. What are they gonna get for John Wall, right? Because he doesn't want to be there next year, right? So
there you go. John Wall's a good trade piece. So somebody like Dallas would take John Wall. Then now you do John Wall for Brooklyn.
I don't think they're taking John Wall.
Why not? Not probably not the salary, but they would take John Wall. They come on, a ball handler. He doesn't play the defense. He doesn't play defense that you want, but a ball handler, somebody who can get to the cup or score like you want. You just
If
mentioned
he can stay healthy, yeah. But I mean, he's
right,
proven he can't stay healthy.
right. So I don't know. I think Mobley is the key there at the number 2 point, at the number 2 spot. In my opinion, I think Mobley is the number 2. So back to your question, I think Udoka has the best role out of the Mavericks and the Blazers because there's going to be some movement. We know there's going to be movement with Portland and Dallas. So
yes,
you don't know exactly what you're dealing with. So I think Udoka, there should be some movement, but it's going to be minimal in that situation. Let's take a little break here, man. We went way long on that show. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about some NFL topics. Then we still have our this week in history. So let's take a little break right here, Mr. Landon, and we're gonna come back and talk about this other stuff.
yeah.
Okay, Landon. Thank you guys again for sticking with us. Voice of the Fans podcast. It is week 100, 145. Thank you, Landon. Landon, give them your Twitter handle, your social media information so they can follow you and tell you because they're going to be looking for this follow up on the body types and how having a growth spurt impacts your development of your body. Fans are going to be looking for that feedback.
You can catch me on at Landon Buford on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find my writing at landonbuford.com.
Okay, Landon. Jacksonville was fined $200K. Urban Meyer was fined $100K. So Urban Meyer is right up. He wastes no time to get fined in the NFL. He wastes no time to start breaking the rules in Jacksonville.
What did he do? Because I've been on the NBA tip. I haven't been on the NFL tip at all.
Organized team activities. They're apparently they're going 11 on 11. They're not supposed to be going 11 on 11. Urban Meyer says the hell with the rules. I do what I do, and I'm trying to get my team better. So the team was fine, and Urban Meyer was fine. So although the owner has bottomless pockets, um, I think it's still kind of a slap. Urban Meyer is a slap to the NFL because he's breaking rules right off the bat. I don't think that's a good look. Um, but it's per usual. That's his mo, right? To always press the envelope, press the limit, and then we'll see how that helps them.
Well,
Um,
we gotta figure out how long he's gonna be in the NFL because if
we
he
don't.
cites health problems, knock on wood, right?
No. He's gonna have
He's gonna be out of there.
Cleveland and I agree that within 3 years he'll be out of the NFL. Either back uh, spending time with his family, back on commentating for college
Fox or
football games on
ESPN,
Fox.
yeah.
Yeah, so within 3 years he's going to be out of the NFL. So he's trying to do the best he can in this short period of time that he has because I think he's going to be out of there. Um, the Cowboys and the 49ers also were fined an undisclosed amount of numbers for similar reasons for breaking the OTA rules. Um, what do
What
you
were they
what do you
doing?
know about
Practicing
that?
without pads, hitting each other? What were they doing?
Well, no, you're not supposed. I know for the Jacksonville Jaguars, it didn't specify what the Cowboys and the Niners were doing, but it specified the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're not supposed to go 11 on 11 and with pads. And apparently Jacksonville was going on 11 on 11 with pads. And so you're not supposed to do that in their organized team activities, which they had a couple last week. Most teams had them over the last couple of weeks. Jacksonville had theirs last week. So another of the Washington football team was
Yeah, I saw
fined
that
was
for
fined $10 million
misconduct. Yeah.
for a general lack of respect for women in the workplace. Um, I wonder how long it's going to be before the NFL says we don't need Snyder as one of our owners.
Well, I know Bezos was trying to get ownership of the team um if
He tried to
Snyder
get
was to sell.
he
I mean,
tried to get his friends to force Snyder
yeah.
out. That's power.
Isn't he a minority owner already?
Who? No, Snyder owns the team full out.
Okay.
My understanding is Snyder he owns 100% of the team. But that's some power. That's some fucking power for Bezos. If he can go to his boys in the NFL and say, "Yo, tell him you guys don't want to work with this guy no more," and then so I can buy in. I got it. Here's a check. I already got 500 mil ready
Well,
to go.
because they were trying to make sure that the Seahawks stayed in Seattle after the passing of
Paul
Allen, and if Jody was going to sell it, they wanted Bezos to come in and be the owner of the Seahawks.
Allen. Well,
That's what I heard. I don't know how true that was. That's what I heard.
Yeah, he's not. He's apparently They're not selling the Seahawks or the Trailblazers. Um, so they're in good shape. But I
And
think that
with Amazon owning a piece of the building of the new arena in Seattle, I wouldn't be surprised if Bezos finds happens to be within the ownership group of the Sonics when they come back.
we'll see.
I haven't heard anything. I'm just
that's a huge saga that's going on, man.
Yeah. But anyway,
I
back
wish,
to NFL.
I wish they would turn that over to Chris Hansen, let him do his thing.
I'll tell you some stuff about him, but I'm not going to put it on camera.
Yeah.
There's a reason why.
But so the $10 million the Washington football team was fined, and like I said, I'm thinking in short order, man, that they're going to try to do something to get, because he doesn't have a lot of friends in the league. So as far as ownership goes, I'm thinking they're going to try to edge him out somehow. And this seems egregious enough that this would be a good reason, kind of similar to the Sterling factor. But maybe they didn't have anything on tape that they can nail him with. And then, do you think Lamar Jackson is like the players in the NBA? You don't win a championship, you're a bum. Paul George syndrome, if you will. Do you think that is on Lamar's shoulder to get to the Super Bowl?
Yep. Every year.
The kid's been in the league like what, 3-4 seasons. Like this isn't the NBA.
First unanimous MVP.
This
The pressure's
isn't
on.
This isn't the NBA where the unanimous MVP like Steph Curry, like you have to get to the finals. You don't do it by yourself, right?
No, but that team is on the hot seat. They need to get to the championship at some point.
At some point, I just think it's a little premature to put Lamar Jackson.
I mean, this man is about to get paid.
I think it's a little premature to put him on that pedestal. In my opinion, I think it's a little. I think it's a little premature for that. What do you think is? Let me ask you this question: Who you looking for most to see on the field? Jordan Love, Justin Fields, or Trevor Lawrence? Who you want to see play? Who you want to see? Who are you looking to see forward to see play the most? Jordan, Green Bay, Chicago quarterback, or Jacksonville quarterback?
I'm gonna go with Fields because you said Trevor Lawrence. Who you said who?
Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love with Green Bay, or Justin Fields? Trevor Lawrence is the only one the starter right now.
I thought you were going to talk about the one in San Francisco. Well, yeah, Jacksonville has no choice.
Niners.
Jacksonville has no choice but to start Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence is the only starter right now. I don't think Trey Lance. I don't think he's going to start till mid-season.
I'll say this: since Jacksonville took most of a lot of Seattle's picks, I'll go with Jacksonville. Sorry, my eyes.
Okay. Let me hear Derwin James, Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham, or Joe Burrow. Whose return are you looking to see most?
You said Saquon Barkley.
Derwin, running back for the Giants. Derwin James, safety for the
Chargers. Yeah.
Odell Beckham, receiver for the Browns, or Joe Burrow, QB for the
Odell Beckham because everybody keeps saying he's a superstar.
You want to see him?
I want to see what he can do with that Browns team because they got a lot of weapons.
If I was the Browns, I'd trade him tomorrow for whatever I can get. I'm trading him for probably a cornerback, safety. That's what I'm looking for. I mean, the team is loaded. They don't need him. He draws too much attention. I'm going elsewhere.
I still don't understand why Patrick Peterson left Arizona and how stacked those boys are.
Well, he's been there for a long time, and we're going to get into that. In fact, my very next question is, what's the toughest division in the NFL?
The NFC West.
Well, I was going to say outside AFC East, but so to your point right now, NFC West is the toughest division. You called it out. NFC West is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL.
No, not one. The toughest.
The toughest. So when you say that, you have Cleveland and I did our ranking last week. The Rams, the Seahawks,
the Cardinals,
the 49ers, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are at the bottom of the division. So they may be talented, they're still at the bottom of the division.
All four of those teams are a threat to go to the Super Bowl every year.
No, they're not. No, the Cardinals. First, you have to win your division. First and foremost, they're not. They're not. A
threat the Cardinals are stacked. The Rams are still stacked.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. You got to win your division first. If we just ranked them. They're ranked number 4 in their division. They're not a threat to win the title. At number 4 in their division.
Number 4 in division. That division. Who was represented last year? The 49ers represented the year before.
It was Tampa Bay and the Chiefs, right?
Right.
The 49ers were in it the year before, yes.
The year before. The Rams were in there the year before that.
Okay.
Who was in there before that?
The Cardinals hasn't been in close since the Cardinals haven't been close for a while, so I'm not sure what you're trying to
I
get
think
at.
11 was last time the Cardinals were in contention for a Super Bowl,
Uh-huh.
2011, and then 14, 15 Seattle was in there.
Okay.
Um, I think the Cardinals are dangerous this year.
What tells you
Um,
that? What tells you that when we just ranked them in the last of the division?
from last year, did you see the acquisitions that they picked up this year? They got AJ Green on a 1-year deal.
Okay.
They got Connor at running back.
Okay.
They have
Their
DeAndre
problem,
Hopkins.
their problem is not offense. Their problem is defense.
Okay, did you see what they picked up on defense?
Who?
They got JJ Watt coming off
Okay.
the
Yeah,
edge.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the pieces that the only significant piece that they lost on defense was Patrick Peterson. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know why he left.
I think they replaced him in the draft or try to replace him in the draft. But what I don't know exactly. I haven't talked to him and don't talk to him. So my only thing is just looking at the division breakdown. They're ranked last in the division and have been for the last multiple years. So they may be better. They did pick up some quality talent. I hear and understand what you're saying. The bottom line is they're still ranked last in their division. So with that being said, let's go somewhere else.
Where you're going
Going
off
to
of last
Minnesota,
year's
right?
ranks. Huh?
He's went to Minnesota, right?
Yeah, he went to Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah. Which they need some more defense, and they're probably he got to step up. They'll be better. Minnesota will have a better record. They'll be about the same, but Minnesota will go further than the Cardinals will. The Cardinals are in a tough division, plain and simple. They're not beating out the Rams for a division title. They're not beating out Seattle for a division title. The Niners,
We don't know that though, Cam. With the additions that they did, you don't know. We don't know who's going to be in the division leader. I mean, if you ask me, I'm gonna say Seattle all day. But the Arizona had a better offseason than Seattle did.
Okay, so they got better than Seahawks. So did they get better than the Niners? Did they get better than the Rams?
I think so.
You think they got better than the Rams? The Rams already had the number one defense in the league last year. They didn't lose anybody. They lost their coach. That's it. That's who they lost. Their defensive hit coordinator. That's who they lost. They didn't lose any players.
They lost their offensive coordinator.
No, they lost.
Okay,
so the defense, they lost their coordinators, but the fact is Sean McVay is still there, and he's really the guy that drives the train there. So the Rams. They have also the 49ers, who went through a Super Bowl slump last season. So they got injured. Their quarterback got injured. They lost confidence in the quarterback. Now they got a rookie quarterback. So as soon as Jimmy G has a hiccup, I mean they're going to put in the young guy. The young guy.
Right. They lost. They lost a couple wide receivers because Kevin Bourne is in.
That's right. They did let Kevin Bourne.
Yeah. Is in New England.
Okay.
They got Debo. They got Debo, right?
Yep.
I
think they gained another receiver too, but I'm not.
I think they gained another receiver. But I mean, we'll see. It's the toughest division in football. You know what I'm saying? Like, they added another slot so the Cowboys can get into the playoffs.
Or who so they thought.
Yeah.
So they thought. So to be interesting, I just don't see. I understand your question. My answer would be they played in the toughest division in football, so where they weren't going to win, the Cardinals were not going to win. So that would be my answer as to why they left.
I'm going from Seattle's perspective, but if the Cardinals do become the number one, I mean the team that represents the division, I'm going to talk to you about this because we had this conversation.
We can revisit that anytime. We'll be here
because any of those teams are better than your Dolphins, but I'll digress.
Well, until Deshaun Watson comes to town.
You know what? That's if he can't come to town. That's if he can't come to town.
Well, we're gonna have some conversations with Roger Goodell Maybe the kid just needs a different scenery. We got all kind of masseuses down.
That has nothing to do
We
with
have all
Roger
kind
Goodell.
of we have all kind of masseuses down in South Florida that can take
Bro.
take care of him just. We can take care of him just fine. He's not gonna have to ship people in and out around town.
There's a specific NFL owner that knows about the masseuses in Florida. But I'll just leave it at that.
That's right. Again, we have all kind of masseuses that can take care of us in South Florida. He's not gonna. This will not be a problem in South Florida. So let's go ahead and make this move. Let's send it out for 4 games, Coach Roger, and then let's go from there. So yes,
so you're trading Tua for Deshaun? Is that what you're saying?
He's out of there. He's out of there. I can't. His bags are already packed. I already got Tua's bag packed for him. Tua and what you want to. We got 2 picks for the next 3 years. You want to pick from? You want 3 number ones? You want 2 number ones? What do you want to do? He's out of there, bro. So yeah, we can have that discussion. Just remember that conversation. We already got a couple topics we're gonna have to circle back on. Let's take a little break here. When we come back, Landon, we're gonna do this week in history, and then we got to talk about some random topics, man. We're gonna talk about the collegiate athletes that looks like they're gonna get paid, and what does this mean for NCAA and the EA Sports? We're gonna have this conversation here when we come back. Let's take a little break here.
Hold on, let me get some lemonade since we're taking a break. They need to pay my boy Reggie Bush, reinstate him.
They're in retroactive.
They need to pay my boy Reggie Bush.
Shit, they already have bought him a house. What do you do? What more you want them to do?
They need to put the Heisman back.
They would have had to come. I wouldn't have shipped that. They'd had to come and send the feds to the house to come get the Heisman. I wouldn't have took that back too. I wouldn't have sent that back. All right, here we go, Landon. Once again, fans, thank you guys for tuning in. Voice of the Fans podcast. It is July 1, 2021, and this is week 145 of the Voice of the Fans podcast. We want to thank you guys for tuning in and checking in with us. However you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're listening to the podcast, we certainly appreciate that. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then share this podcast. If you like what you hear, which you ought to like what you hear, dropped a lot of nuggets on you, had some deep conversations. So go ahead, share this podcast, tell a friend about the baddest podcast in all the land. That is the Voice of the Fans podcast. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. And now we're going to get to the amazing This Week in History segment that is streaking the nation. Mr. Landon, back in 6/28/1978, the Supreme Court handed down a decision affecting racial quotas. They handed down a Bakke decision, which affected racial quotas in education and industry back in 1978. So there became a quota in the industry, in industry work and education for quotas, racial quotas. Kind of interesting that took place in 1978, but yet it did. July 1, 1964, or excuse me, 1694, the Civil Rights Act was passed back in, 1964. The Civil Rights Act was passed back on 7/1. 7/4, 1881, Booker T. Washington opened up the Tuskegee in Alabama. Back in 1881, that was Booker T. did the job. 1822, the slave result that Denmark Vesey and Peter Poyas initiated, they got arrested in South Carolina. They didn't get far. That was 1618, 1822. Bob Gibson, in 1968, July 1, 1968, Bob Gibson's streak of 47, 2 1/3 scored, 47, 2 1/3 scored innings was broke. It ended. Your connection sums up with your connection, man. I'm getting a lot of feedback. There you go. You did whatever you did work. But Cardinals pitcher Bob Gibson's streak of 47, 2 1/3 scoreless inning was broke. That was third most in live era. Ends on a wild pitch against the Dodgers. 47, 2 1/3 inning was a pretty immaculate. Um, so we've got a couple of segments a couple of topics we wanted to talk about before we close the show. What's your thoughts on the collegiate athletes' ability now to make money off their name and likeness?
It's about time, man. They should have been making money a long time ago. The NCAA was been getting over for decades.
Getting over for decades, right? And that's essentially what
they've been finessing collegiate athletes for decades. So I don't feel sorry at all for the NCAA.
No, nobody should feel sorry for them. Do you think this brings back the NCAA for EA Sports?
They've already announced that. I thought.
Did they? I
thought they already announced that was coming back.
Not with playing the players. I heard it was going to come back, and they were going to use some what's the word, artificial players, but not with the players and not with the schools.
If they're going to use the schools, then they're going to have to pay these guys now.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
That was part of the lawsuit a long time ago.
Yeah,
that's what Bannon and those guys did to win the lawsuit, is because they were using their likeness.
But
in those video games,
we haven't seen. It's been nearly a decade now that we've seen the NCAA hoop game or college football game, right?
The last one, I think it was 2015.
No, it's been longer than that.
Yeah, let me see. No, I could have sworn the last NCAA.
It's been longer than that. It's been long. It might be 2005 or 6. But nonetheless, man, I wonder if they'll sign a contract with the players and the players can get a portion of it. I mean, how are you going to divvy that out between the quarterback and third string defensive tackle? Like, how is that going to break down? You know, whether that's Alabama or University of Washington, how that's going to break down between that, what the players can make or the portion of the players. Because if they say, okay, every player gets 2 cents for every game sold, then there's going to be a discrepancy, because that wide receiver for Clemson, he's going to say, well, we have more fans coming to our games than, say, the University of Fresno or Fresno State, and I shouldn't make the same money that as a receiver for NCAA that the guy at Fresno State makes, right? So
true. I think 14 was the last one, because I know Denard Robinson was the last, I think, cover athlete.
Interesting. Okay. So that's going to still be interesting how they decide that. And I mean, if they work it out, it'd be nice to see the NCAA for NCAA sports come back. Your girl Sha'Carri Richardson, blue-haired gal sprinter, made the Olympic team, but then she apparently tested positive for a prohibited substance, and her chances of making Olympic, or her chances of going to Tokyo is sketchy, up in the air right now. What do you think about Sha'Carri Richardson and this potential banned substance?
From what I'm reading on the internet, I mean on social media, and that's not necessarily reliable. They said it was weed. So I mean, if it is weed,
well, if that's all it was, that shouldn't be an issue. But banned or not, I mean, she's blowing and still blowing.
I mean, like that, you're messing with endorsement money. You're messing with It's not smart, regardless of if it's just weed or anything. You shouldn't have any banned substances
in your system.
Your system.
Any bad substances, you're right. Now, if it is just weed, I mean, maybe the WADA needs to relook at their banned substances. Did you hear about the Eugene Chung situation? The former Eagle Philadelphia assistant coach was interviewed for a job, and they told him that he wasn't the right minority for the job. Did you hear about that situation? It
No, I
happened
did not.
probably here about a month ago. Um, well, the NBA, the NFL, excuse me, conducted their investigation and could not confirm. They were unable to confirm alleged comments uh, from the former Eugene Chung. So, kind of bygones be bygones. What is the word down there in Texas about the pitchers using the tacky? Was it the gold tacky or just to get more
I'm
control of the ball?
I'm unfamiliar with the story, so I don't know.
You're not following the Major League Baseball at all? I mean, that's been a big talk in the Major League Baseball in their
I stopped
substance.
following the Major League Baseball in 2001 when the Mariners were eliminated. I haven't been a fan of baseball since the Mariners in 2000 and
So
2001.
that's the problem. You was a fan of the Mariners. The Mariners ain't been good the whole at all. Period. They had one winning
Listen,
season. They had one winning season in your lifetime. One.
97, 2001, 1999. They had some
No,
winning seasons earlier
no, brother.
earlier when I was younger, but they
They
haven't
have
done anything in almost 11 years now.
the Mariners stink, or the Mariners
I mean, they're
absolutely
the
stink out
Yankees
loud.
farms team. We know that now.
There you
So, I
go.
mean, yeah, yes,
They're
yes.
Major League Baseball farm team, not just the Yankees, but
Well,
Major
they
League
used to be the
Baseball.
Yankees farm team a couple years ago. Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
good
well,
point. That's a good point.
5 or 6 years ago. So,
What do you think? Did you watch the Tank Davis and Mario Barrios over the weekend?
I saw highlights because I was watching. I think that was a NBA game on that night. But
What are you a fan of Tank Davis? What do you think of Tank Davis? Is he the new pound for pound champ? The new
he
face
might
of
be.
boxing?
He might be.
Um,
Congrats to Mario. I mean, I had the opportunity to interview him last year.
yeah,
When he won when he won the championship belt. In another weight class. Obviously, salute to him for being a sport and acknowledging the new champion afterwards.
yeah.
Um,
I was rooting for Barrios, but
but I think Tank might be the next person in line.
you think he's the next person in line, huh?
And he's aligned himself with Floyd Mayweather, so that's gonna come with the territory.
It might have been the other way around. Floyd Mayweather aligned himself with him. That's the way it might
I
have
mean,
been.
wherever you want to call it, those guys they've linked up.
Yeah,
They're now. Um, he's now in the camp. He's now part of the money team in some
late
sort of way.
in a few weeks we have Fury taking Tyson Fury taking on Deontay Wilder for the third time. What's your anticipation of this bout?
Wilder's got to win this fight.
Can he win the fight? Not do he got to win the fight? Can he win the fight?
I mean, Fury's got his number right now, right?
Are you going? Who do you have in a fight? Who you putting your money on?
He better. Well, listen. Uh, I'm
Who
gonna go
you?
with Fury,
Okay,
but Wilder better not have anything weighing him down or anything of that
right.
nature. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. I say, hey, go to the hotel room, grab a towel, cut a hole in it, and go to the ring. Put it over your shoulders and go into the ring. That's what you do. You don't need no elaborate
you
mask or
don't need.
elaborate
He's
costume.
a showman. They're both
No.
showmen.
Hey, go into the ring with nothing on and show that you can fight in the ring. You can win this, you can beat this dude. That's what you
Yeah.
need to do. That's what you need to do about now. And then later on next month we have Earl Spence from around your parts takes on Manny Pacquiao.
This will be the
I can't
first
believe.
fight. I think this will be the first fight since the accident, right?
No, this is second fight.
Second fight. Okay.
Yeah, this is second fight since the accident. I can't believe Manny Pacquiao is still fighting. Two
Oh,
years
it's a
ago,
check, but my guy,
huh?
it's a check.
Well, yeah, but he's 42. I can't believe he's still
I
fighting.
mean, didn't Bernard Hawkins fight till he's like 46?
True, but I don't know. Bernard Hopkins also spent like 7 years in jail, and he had some time to make he had some time to make up. Manny has got a lot of things going on, and I just
He
can't
might.
believe he's still
I mean,
fighting.
he obviously loves the sport of boxing.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair. Good point. Good point.
And like they do in wrestling, they might if they might Spence might need Manny to put him over. You know what I'm saying? You watch wrestling, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, in boxing, I just tell the fans this in boxing. So it's not that they fix fights per se.
I didn't say they fixed fight. I
Now
said that they needed him
listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's not that they fix fights per se, and that's what a lot of people say. Oh, these fights are fixed, blah blah blah. But they'll put fighters in the ring. The promoter will put him against a fighter that they know he should beat, and they're pretty confident that he should beat him. And so they don't want their boxer to lose, obviously. So they'll just put him in a really good situation. And if you go out there and lose, it's kind of a surprise to everybody. So it's not a fixed fight per se. And then it's Manny Pacquiao. So as you mentioned, it's a checkbook. It's a big payday for both fighters because Manny Pacquiao brings his whole nation of Philippines to the whole nation is going to be try to get tickets to that fight, and then obviously Spence is a draw, so a lot of people want to see them fight each other. But if Spence doesn't knock him out, man, I'm gonna be disappointed. I'm going into the fight kind of the same way I did. Excuse me, when Keith Thurman fought Pacquiao. If Earl Spence doesn't knock him out, I'm gonna be disappointed.
So
in this fight.
What is the next fight for Spence if once this fight is over? Because what's next?
Does he win or lose?
If he wins, what's next?
If he wins, they're fighting at the end of July. They probably won't fight until early next year. I don't know that he fights Crawford. I don't think that's probably the fight you want to see or what you want to hear. But he'll probably fight somebody. I don't think he'll fight Crawford. But he'll fight another guy.
Crawford's got a lot of power.
Well, Crawford also is sitting on the shelf for so long. We don't know what Crawford has left because he hasn't fought anybody of note in a couple of years. It's been a few years that he fought somebody of note. So,
I mean, COVID had something to do with that, but yeah, keep going.
COVID did, yes.
Yeah.
However, he didn't. The last fight he had was a pushover. He beat him in 7 rounds. So he hasn't worked in a long time, is what I'm saying. And so where Spence, unfortunately, he has the auto accident. He's fought Danny Garcia.
Yep.
Then he fought. I don't remember who he fought last time, but it was.
That's what I said. I thought it was the first fight since
this is the second fight. But the last fight went to distance. I want to say it was Danny Garcia. Actually, it might have been Danny Garcia just recently. So last month or last year, a year from today. So we'll see, man. But Landon, thank you for tuning in. Landon, give the people your social media handle so they can connect with you.
You can catch me on Twitter at Landon Buford I'm sorry, and Instagram at Landon Buford. You can catch my work at LandonBuford.com.
Landon, I want to thank you for tuning in. Fans, I want to thank you for tuning in once again. I want to end the show with this quote from the late great Kobe Bryant.
Bean.
If you're afraid to fail, then you're probably going to fail. One more time, Landon. If you are afraid to fail, then you are probably going to fail. Late great Kobe Bryant, just be confident in everything you do. Believe that you can win. Believe that you're going to be successful. And just have confidence in what you're doing. So, Landon, you can take that. Fans, thank you guys for tuning in once again.
How do you keep telling me?
You can take that. Just believe in what you're doing. Big guy, believe, and I mean necessarily to everybody. Fans, once again, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Again, tell a friend about the best podcast in all the land. And then, as always, I want to thank you guys for making our voice your choice. Have a good one, Chief.